Welcome back to the Full Send Podcast. This is a special episode. I get to interview the host.
We get to switch roles here, dude. How about that?
Yeah.
Your intro, by the way, was
spot on. I've been following the best for a while now. Oh, Mr.
Man.
Podcast voice himself.
Yeah, you're too kind. I loved Ron's nicknames that he gave us all.
Oh yeah.
That was really kind. Podcast host, man after my own heart. Shout out to Ron.
Shout out to Ron. Today is really just, a chance for our viewers, our listeners, our members to get to know you. You had a pretty cool milestone that you passed that we've been talking about for a while. This man finally snatched 225, so we're going to give you a golf clap on the podcast.
I appreciate that, man. That was a long time coming, and for those of you who've been following this podcast, we talked about daily goals months ago. It was a long time ago, and for a long time there was a lot of work that was going into that, and I guess we'll go over this a little bit, but for those of you who haven't been following the story, I set aside two goals here a couple months ago to snatch 225 and to clean and jerk 275 pounds, which ultimately I've been working towards for, again, a couple months here and everything like that. So
when we started, we were pretty serious about training every week. We did a lot of private training. And I think you made some progress, and then I feel like you went through what most people go through, which is life, and things got busy and you got a little distracted, and then when we would go back up to the barbell again, even our conversation I think last week or the week before, you just seemed very well, if I hit it, I hit it. If I don't, no big deal.
I think we literally said that in the podcast last week. And life's gotten busy. I'm planning a wedding. We've talked about that on the podcast as well. And I really just went away from it, right? I wasn't setting aside any sort of time from that. And I don't regret that. Not really at all. Just with everything that was going on in my life, snatching or cleaning and jerking that much weight was just priority number 15. It's just not that high.
Right.
And that's perfectly okay.
So what do you think changed? How were you able to go from having a goal, being worried about it, thinking about it, working towards it, to then kind of being apathetic about it, to then randomly achieving that goal?
Yeah.
Do you think that you taking a step back had some effect on you being able to make it, or?
Yeah, so I think this is twofold, right? And the number one thing to this thing is that it was mental more than anything else, right? And
I told you that.
Yeah, and you said that right in the very beginning, right? That I had the capability, the strength, and even the lifting technique to be able to get underneath 225. It was a mental thing, right? And the example from all this stuff also was just that, this past Saturday, we had snatched, and I only snatched 195 pounds, and barely got underneath that, and to come up just a couple days later, and then get underneath, 217.5, which was a PR at that point, right before I hit 225. I mean, that was just massive, right? And the second part to this was that the personal training sessions were instrumental in being able to do that, because there was only two things that I ended up thinking about when I was getting underneath the bar this past Monday, and that was I need to push with my legs, and I need to finish the snatch, meaning I needed to get upright, not just fall underneath it, right? There were two things that I really struggled with, and it was the only two things that I had thought about, and had I not gone through the one-on-one training sessions, I wouldn't have thought of either one of those two things.
Yeah, I mean, that finish, and I'm sure you felt very confident about that finish on that day, and you were like, okay, now I know what it means to finish at the end and to jump hard and do all that. But that's the next time you go up for a snatch, it might not feel the same, and you might be like, man, where's that finish? Where's that oomph that I had for 225, right? And that's still part of training the snatch, so it's there's days when it feels really light and everything feels awesome and it just snaps above your head, and there's days where it doesn't, and I think that's what kind of you were going through. You're hitting 195, you're hitting 205, you're hitting 185, you have a bad day, right? And then, you kind of break through that plateau. So, but super proud of you when I saw that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and all the work that you put into that as well, right? Very much a team effort, and shout out to any of the coaches and peers around me that have always cheered me on for that. That was a huge milestone, and I appreciate all of you.
For sure. What's your new goal?
Man, get through June without losing my head. That really is number one, right? Go ahead.
So outside the gym, you're in IT recruiting.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What is the best and worst parts of your job?
Okay, let's start with the worst, and then we'll finish on kind of a high note and everything like that. I'm admitting that I'm not good at it and being okay with that.
That is not what I expected you to say.
Yeah, so it's the same as anything else, right? I'm very early on in my career doing that. I've only got 16 months of experience, and it's in contract recruiting and in cleared recruiting, which is people have to have a certain clearance level to be able to work with them, which means it lowers your talent pool, and there's a lot of companies in there, so it's super competitive. And I came into it thinking, like, I'm a people person. I've done sales before. I'm going to be really good at this. And I really didn't know anything about the contracting business, about IT recruiting, about IT really in general. And for a long time, I was like, I have to be good, I have to be good, I have to be good. I don't really know what the switch was, but I just kind of realized where I'm like, I'm not great at this, but I can learn to be good at this, right? So it's just understanding that, like,
What do you consider good? I mean, like,
yeah, for me, getting 8 placements within a single year.
okay, but like, I don't know. It seems like, how do you, like,
Use your words,
yeah,
bro.
I don't know. Like, if the people aren't there, the job
I
isn't
feel
there.
like,
Like, what is it?
Yeah, I feel like I threw you for a loop on that one. So I guess I'll go with this, right? One of the hardest parts about the job is just how much you see failure over and over and over and over again. So within a given year, right, if I hire like 8 people, that's a great year, right? Now think about 40 hours of work a week at a minimum to be able to do that. How many phone calls, emails, all this stuff that you're going through. First, how many people just say no right off the bat, which is an absolute ton, and it's the most. Then you go through like phone screen processes, you present different job positions, and people are like, no, I don't like that. That's not me. I'm not qualified for that, so on and so forth. And then you get into interview stages, and then my team goes, this person's not qualified for this. This isn't going to work. And you go through all these different stages to get to somebody finally accepting an offer position, and then doing what we call a clearance crossover, actually getting seated. It's a really lengthy process in and of itself, and you just see so much, no, this isn't going to work. I'm taking this other job position, where if you're not okay with that eventually, and it does take some time to learn to kind of shift over and kind of get over, especially when I made the transition from like a gym where like on a daily basis, you could see victory within that.
Yep.
Doesn't happen nearly the same capacity as it does in IT recruiting.
So you think that, that's maybe taught you something in other areas of your life? I mean, you failed that snatch a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe being, and this was what I was talking to Jimmy. I was talking to my wife, but like last night, Jimmy got handstand push-ups. Awesome job.
Good job. Oh my gosh, did he really?
Yeah.
That's
and
a
it was
big
like,
moment too. That's
it was,
awesome.
And it's cool because it was like the light bulb went off where it's like, oh man, I don't have to like kill myself to just do this movement, and I can improve my fitness in other areas, and I'll be able to achieve this. It's kind of the same thing. Like maybe the work that you did in failing so much in your job outside of the gym helped you have the mental capacity to not care so much about failing so much in the snatch, to keep going after it.
Man, I would love to say like yes, and in some ways it did, right? But you have good days, you have bad days, I think, with everything as well. And so like there's certainly some snatch days where I would come in here and I would only get underneath 185 pounds or 165, even lighter, and I'd be like, I had fun today, did all that. So to some extent, yeah, I would definitely say that that's true. But then there was other days where, you've been in here and I've been frustrated. I've been like, I'm not nearly where I'm at.
Yeah.
But I'm human, and I think everybody does that.
So what's the best part of your job?
Best part of my job, I love the guy that I work for, Dave Baldini. Goes to the gym.
Shout out Dave Baldini.
Yeah, shout out Dave Baldini. Best mentor, one of my best friends that I've ever had. Has taught me more about even personal life, but business and everything than anybody who's been involved in my life. So I love working for him. I love working for the rest of the team over there. It's a company where high level company, good performing company where I've gotten to work with the executive team on a one-on-one basis. So for example, right, the founder and I, so Jeff and I get to reach out to him kind of basically whenever I would like to. And prior to COVID, we actually had like standing meetings where he would get to come in here and actually like teach me the ropes of government contracting. And I would get to work with the vice president, Doug, who was also a very good friend, on a personal basis so that he would make me understand what does a Java developer actually do, right? And overall, it's just really a fantastic group of people to work with. That is by far the best part of that company.
Cool. Okay, so you grew up in Michigan.
Yeah.
Go Blue.
Interesting. So
not Go Blue.
Yeah. So
the only person I know. My best friend's from Michigan, and so he's just like.
He says Go Blue.
Yeah.
Do you know what that means?
What, Michigan State, Michigan Wolverines?
Okay, yeah. So let's discern between this two, and then any people out there that are Big Ten fans are going to absolutely hate me for this.
Wait, so Michigan State and Michigan. No, I meant Michigan, right?
Right. Very good. Right.
Right.
So Go Blue is in reference to the University of Michigan, which is in Ann Arbor.
Which is Michigan.
Yeah, University of Michigan.
Right.
Go Green, and then somebody would say Go White afterwards, refers to Michigan State, and it's a big
Spartans.
rivalry. Yes, the Spartans, very good. All right, so Monroe knows his Big Ten schools,
my best
right?
friend's from.
Yeah,
so
you would think of this as like Virginia Tech, UVA is kind of how you would think of it. Only I think it's probably a bigger rivalry. Maybe Virginia fans are going to disagree with me. If you guys do, put that in the comments below. So I'm a Michigan State basketball fan, and they're not good this year. They're probably going to miss the tournament for the first time since 1997,
Ouch.
which is saying a lot. And I never really took sides in football growing up. Been a Michigan State basketball fan since I was about 8 years old. They had really good teams in the late 90s, like Mateen Cleaves, Charlie Bell, Morris Peterson, all those guys. And but I never took sides for football. Michigan State wasn't very good. I liked the Dallas Cowboys. another thing that people aren't going to like about me being in DC. And my sophomore year of college, I got to go to a game at Michigan Stadium, which is the largest stadium in the entire country as far as holding people, holds like 110,000 people, and the atmosphere is absolutely electric. And so I went into there, and I'm like, wow, this is a cool experience. And then this guy named Denard Robinson, who is a dual threat quarterback, was their starting quarterback this year, and he was playing against Connecticut in that game. And basically just became a Denard Robinson fan because it was pretty much anytime he touched the ball, there was an opportunity to score because he was so fast and he was so athletic. And ever since then, I've rooted for the University of Michigan in football. So I do the opposite in both. Yeah, so I'm both. And people are like, oh, you can't do that. And it's like, well, I've at least stayed true to those allegiances ever since. So, yeah, go Blue in that mindset. But, yeah, what else do you want to talk about as far as Michigan?
Memory?
Favorite childhood memory. So I grew up in a neighborhood. I lived there for about 12 years where we had, give or take, like 10 guys relatively the same age, so we were all probably within about 3 years of age with one another. And my favorite part about that, and we've talked about this in the past, where we grew up in an age where we didn't have cell phones, right? That wasn't a thing until probably you and I were like sophomores or juniors in high school.
Yep.
And so the majority of growing up, we would go outside. And so we built a dock out on like this little like creek that was across the street way deep into the woods that was super fun, and we would fish off it. Everybody's got a story of falling out of trees out there into the water. But my favorite part about that is everybody was really into sports, and we would play sports like you'd get home from school, you'd get off the bus, and it would be like, okay, if it was fall, we would play football, and we would just play backyard football. Full on tackle, no pads.
Hell yeah.
I don't have a memory of anybody like breaking a limb or anything like that. And then in winter, it's Michigan, so we play ice hockey and shovel off a pond, and we would just play hockey for hours on end.
I saw someone post about skating on, what do they call it? Some kind of ice where it's like sketchy ice in the middle of a lake where it's like you could fall through.
I don't know the terminology for that, but I would never do that.
Oh, so that's not what you're saying?
That's not what we would do. No, so we would have to get one of our dads to go out there with a drill, and he would have to drill into the ice, and it would have to be 6 inches thick or more for us to be able to go out there. And they would like stick a tape measure down there and do all that. Otherwise, we weren't allowed out there, which, again, makes sense because if you were to fall through, it's not going to be a good situation. So we do that, and then spring and summer was baseball, basketball, and we would just alternate between the two. And I grew up with all those guys. Not in touch with anybody really anymore, but it was a wonderful place to grow up, and I really enjoyed that part.
Okay, so what was one of the most impactful things that your parents instilled in you growing up? Like anything, a habit,
it's hard to
mentality.
pick just one.
What's the most important? The thing that has changed your life the most?
Man, I wonder. I'm gonna send them this episode. I wonder if they're actually gonna watch this and actually judge me for this. They won't do that, but man, the just the ability to ask for forgiveness, like that sounds that sounds weird. And
that's
maybe
really important.
It is, and it was something that I had to learn. And it's ironic because we talked about this the other night. I FaceTime them on a weekly basis, but just the yeah, I mean, they really just taught me how to basically go and ask for that, right? When you do something wrong, and I do lots of stuff wrong, right? And it's been instrumental in my relationship with Sydney. It's going to be instrumental when if and when I become a dad, and in any other relationship, right? Is when I do something wrong, is just to go out there and be like, hey, Monroe, I was wrong for X. I shouldn't have done that. Could you please forgive me? I think as far as conflict goes, like that is huge in getting you back to equilibrium with whoever you're having that thing with. And it's funny because I said I had to learn that, and I did. And it was at a very young age. And I remember my mom would make me go to my room, and she would make me figure out what I had done wrong, would make me admit what I had done wrong, which I didn't like to do, and sometimes I still don't like to do. And then she would, have me ask for forgiveness. And there was lots of times where I'd sit in my room for long periods of time without understanding what I had done wrong or without wanting to admit it. But I'll go with that among many, many other things. Love my parents, have a great relationship with them, and they've been absolutely just instrumental in my life.
Okay, so what did you want to be when you grew up?
So this is funny
because now you're an IT recruiter.
Yeah, I wanted to be a sports broadcaster.
Interesting.
Yeah. So notice how this comes naturally a little bit. I've talked about maybe doing some announcing sometime for local high schools for whether it was football or baseball or something like that. So anybody knows an opportunity for that for a Friday night.
You run a podcast for your job too, right?
Yeah, I do the hosting for that with David and everything like that as well. So, but this is what I wanted to do, and when I was growing up, that kind of all started, and this is kind of a cute or weird story, in that I liked my time to myself, and so when I was growing up and I was young, I loved basketball, and I loved just going out on the driveway, and I would just shoot by myself. And but I would shoot by myself, but I created this whole world where Brandon Price was the best 11U basketball player in the entire world. And so I had all my teammates, but I would commentate the games. And so that's kind of where it would go. So it'd be
awesome.
Price passes to Miller, Miller back to Price up and in, and so I would do stuff like that. But that's what I wanted to do. Long-winded answer, but yeah.
That's too funny. Okay. Are you only child?
No, I'm one of five.
One of five. Okay, so how do you fit in with your family? I've always kind of considered myself kind of the black sheep of the family. I didn't really, I don't know, do what I was supposed to do, I guess, or
yeah.
So how did you fit in?
Yeah, so I was also the black sheep of the family, particularly growing up. Now,
hey, hit the like button if you're a black sheep too.
Yeah, now it's not really like that anymore. So first, I'm super close with all my siblings, but growing up, I was definitely the rebellious type. If my parents told me not to do something, I would go and do exactly that, pretty much. Growing up, I had a great childhood. I didn't get along with my siblings all the time, but I look back on it even now, and even the worst fights that we ever had were not awful. They were your typical sibling fights and everything like that, but. Yeah, I probably hold the all-time record for the Price household for spankings taken as a child. most grounded. Car got taken away. The absolute most.
Are you the
second oldest? So I've got three sisters. Anna's 31. Mary is 23. Emma is 18, and then my brother Kyle is almost 28. He turns 28 in a month. So
fitness is obviously a huge part of your life. how has that affected the way that you think about your future, and how do you plan to keep fitness a part of your life?
Man, so fitness has changed so radically in my life. So at first it was like, it was team sports, really enjoyed that. When I got into college, we really only played soccer, but I really enjoyed that. Again, team sports oriented. And then it transitioned into like this bodybuilding, I just want to look good phase. And then I found CrossFit, and CrossFit was, I want to compete, at least for a while, I wanted to do that. And now it's just like, dude, I just want to live till I'm 90, and I don't want to break down or, have a bunch of injuries, and I want to be able to do stuff, with my kids, and like, I want to be pretty functional, like, until the end of my life is where that's really transitioned to. And so now that's really gone from, lift 3 days a week, look really good, which is still a part of that. Like, I still like looking good and doing it like that, and looking good for my fiance and everything like that as well. But now it's like, all right, and like today after this podcast, I'm gonna do a workout because I need to do a workout. I haven't done a lot of working out this week because work's busy, but I need to be able to do that just so I can take care of my joints, my muscles, and just live a long, healthy life, man.
And I think, and I think that that's totally fine. Like, and even, for people that are new walking into the gym, like, you're still at a very high level of fitness.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard for people to see, like, even though they see, man, Brandon's snatching 225, and then 3 days later you're like, yeah, I just don't really take my fitness that seriously anymore. Like, I just kind of got to get a workout in, And I think for new people, that's especially like a hard thing to kind of understand, that you need to be consistent, but it doesn't need to be like your whole life. There can be other things.
Yeah, and we talked about goals earlier, right? My number one goal in life really is balance across like all things, right? So, I want to have a lot of time with my family. I want to have time with my friends. I want to be able to do stuff in life, and like I still want to be good at CrossFit, right? But I want to be good at a lot of other things, and so I kind of want to be good at every single one of those, right. Which means I'm not going to be particularly great. Maybe great's not the right word, but like a specialist, so to speak, in one or the other, if that makes sense.
For sure. No, I think finding a balance is really important, and I think that balance is different for everyone. I think that, the time of your life, you may, that balance may be skewed one way or the other, but that's where I'm at with fitness. Like, I'm stoked if I can hit heavy weights, and if I don't have time to work out, like, it is what it is,
Yep.
Okay, so continuing to talk about your future, you just got engaged recently to the lovely Sydney Broderick.
Yep.
How'd you guys meet?
We met at a gym. We met at the last gym that we were at.
Oh, yeah?
It was at Ashburn CrossFit. That's a story in and of itself. I know we don't have, several hours to speak on that. But basically, in a nutshell, so I met her, it was like June of 2018, and we were very friendly with one another. She liked sports, she was super athletic, and she's beautiful, and so several months down the road, I very awkwardly asked her out when we were looking at Christmas lights together, and long story short, about 10 months later, she finally went out with me.
Huh. So one thing that I have, through my relationship with my wife and, my marriage and everything, Morgan's 5 years younger than I am, but she has completely changed my outlook on life. Like, completely changed the way I think about everything, the way I think about the future and all that. So I assume that because you're headed down the marriage route, how has Sydney impacted your life?
In a lot of ways. The first way that I'll talk about really is just my faith in Jesus Christ. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a Christian, and my relationship with God and Christianity was really rocky, really in my 20s. I almost go so far as to say it was really non-existent. And she has a really wonderful relationship with God and everything like that. And going through that experience with her, and there's a lot of pieces to it. but she really brought me back to Jesus Christ and to God and through all that. So that first and foremost, she's really made me have so much more patience than I've ever thought that I could possibly imagine. You know, in a good way, right? Yep. And making me realize that it's not always about me, and that this is probably a better way to put this. I always think that I'm correct, like within my head, and that I'm so logical.
Dude, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, that I'm so logical in my thought, but the beautiful thing about the world is that everybody thinks differently, right?
And everybody thinks that they know right.
Yeah, and they want to be able to use that to help other people, but not everybody gets there, right? But I mean, in addition to that, gosh, man, I just love spending every single day with her. You know, I get to build a family with her. I get to do all that. She's incredibly adventurous. She loves to sit down and just watch softball on the weekends and do all that stuff.
And you enjoy that?
I do enjoy that. Yeah, man. If you need something to watch over the weekends, dude, softball is a really entertaining thing to kind of go and watch and everything like
Interesting. So wait.
Yeah.
This is not on my question list, but you're telling me that baseball, having the kind of reputation that it's the most boring sport ever.
Yeah.
Softball.
If I, man,
the women's version, openly. Not.
If I had to choose between watching the Chicago Cubs and Florida State softball, I would choose Florida State softball.
All right. Yeah, but that's because you're with like a hardcore.
No, like
person.
I'm being serious. It's more entertaining content to me. It really is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I'll take it. All right. What is one thing you're most proud of accomplishing so far in your life?
I'm gonna say the best thing that I'm most proud of was picking up and leaving almost 4 years ago, Michigan, with next to no job, just to start the next chapter of my life. There was a lot of things that go into that. I wasn't particularly proud of how I was living my life. Went out, partied, drank a lot, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that if you really enjoy that. But that was 100% of my social life, where it was pretty much like if you didn't have a beer in your hand, I didn't really know what to do with myself as far as a social thing goes. And I didn't want to have that be the rest of my life.
Right.
And I felt like if I didn't leave Michigan, I was never going to get away from that. Michigan also very cold, and I wanted to be in a place where summer was longer than 3 months and that you actually had real seasons and everything like that as well. And I had some family here, and I had searched for jobs kind of in the area, like financial analyst position, stuff like that, and I had been searching for probably 6 months, and I just didn't find anything. And then I wanted to make a career change, go into fitness, and I was just like, I was a single guy, didn't have a lot of expenses, and I was just like, all right, April 1, 2017, I'm just leaving. I'm just going to go. And I ended up having about a 2-week delay because my boss asked me to stay at my current position just for two weeks longer, and I did. And then I just packed up all my belongings, and I moved out here April 13, 2017, and that led me to, I mean, really getting to be a part of the fitness industry for a couple of years, which was absolutely wonderful. It led me to my future wife, which is probably the best thing that's ever happened to me, and then obviously it fixed my relationship with God and everything like that. And
Full circle.
I love my life, man.
Yeah.
I'm really awesome. Blessed to have what I have and everything. But that's probably what I'll be most proud of, is just making that decision.
Okay, so I guess this is kind of a twofold question. How do you keep your head on straight through like what's going on in the world right now? How do you manage your stress? You know, what's something you're afraid of in life? Those kind of things. Like, where are you not Mr. Confident Brandon? I love my life.
Yeah, so that's an easy.
Because like, and
where do you want to start?
Well, so I mean, I can tell you that you have been like instrumental in my head being screwed on straight through this thing. You know, like you've kind of been that person where you're like, hey, just keep following your heart. You know, and that's something that I always do. But it was very refreshing to have you there as like, hey, you know, shit may suck, you know, keep your head on straight, you know, you'll be all right. And, you know, you were super helpful with that. So how do you, I guess, deal with the stress of the world and, you know, all the crazy stuff that's going on out there.
Yeah.
And just stay focused on you. And
okay, so the first thing I want to answer is you asked me, where is Brandon Price not super like positive Brandon Price? That is when I'm working, particularly when I'm making cold calls, right? Still not great at them, still terrify me. They don't always go well. When something doesn't go well at work, like it certainly affects me, and I get really emotional because I can even go, like I can go 0 to really dark pretty fast. I'm gonna get fired. Sydney's gonna leave me. I'm gonna go bankrupt. Like I can get there pretty fast too. Right now, I think where I'm able to like compartmentalize some stuff is you control what you can control and let everything else go. The best example I can really give of this is like if you're pursuing somebody in a relationship and you're texting them and you're worried about a text message, like say you've texted them, right? Text Monroe Miller, and you're constantly looking at your phone. You're like, has he texted back yet? Has he texted back yet? Has he texted back yet? You have no control over when Monroe is going to text you back. Like you can, in your mind starts to create all these different scenarios, right? Maybe Monroe's, seeing a different girl, the phone broke, got hit by a bus, right? And you create all this stuff in your head. None of it really matters because if he wants to talk to you, he's going to talk to you when he'll talk to you, and that's it. And you can't control when that's going to happen. So why worry about it?
Yeah.
When you literally can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Right?
So applying that to as much of your life as humanly possible is incredibly helpful. And then the second thing is gratitude.
I love that you said that.
Yeah. Realizing how good your life is, right?
Yep.
I think is really helpful way just to basically just put positivity into your mind, into your head. Realizing that, like, I think by typical scientist standards, it's like 1 in, I'm going to get this wrong, it's trillions, though. Like, just the fact that we're alive.
Yep.
I mean, that's amazing, right?
Yep.
And the second thing to that is the lottery ticket that we got born into and being born into the greatest country in
America.
In history, right? Where we have so much freedom and there's so much opportunity. It's incredible. Like, just those two things, right? And then, I could just keep going down the road, right? I was born into a family where my parents absolutely adored me, and I have 4 siblings who really care about me, and that I met this wonderful woman who loves me unconditionally. I can go on and on, right?
Yep.
I'm part of a gym that really cares about me. I have a wonderful relationship with you, the rest of the staff, and all my peers here. Gratitude's an easy thing. So, if you're feeling really down in your life, I think this is a wonderful exercise. Right, and there's something called the Gratitude Journal also, which is on Amazon. You can get that on Amazon. It's 5 minutes, and it's just like, all right, like what 3 things are you thankful for, today? And it doesn't have to be anything like crazy. You can even if you're really down, you can start with something like, I'm really happy that I'm pissed off today. I don't know, right? But like the practice of just practicing gratitude, it's incredible what it can do for your mindset and for your mental health.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
I'll look it up on Amazon. We'll leave a link to that in the description.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, one last question for you, Brandon. So everyone has a different idea of what success looks like. And when I talk to business coaches and all these other people, even when I talk to people, it's like, okay, what's the goal? Like, what does success look like to you? Dropping 20 pounds, clean and jerk 300? Like, what is you getting there? And now that you've just achieved success with your most recent goal, it almost seems like all of the work and everything that went into getting that was just kind of like, oh, well, now it's done, So what does success overall in life look like for Brandon Price?
Yeah, so I don't know how to explain this best. Basically, to maximize my happiness pretty much in all aspects of life, right? How you get there is kind of the tough part to that, okay? Because I think life is like, it's up and down, like emotionally as far as that goes, But if you can understand how to address like the really conflicting parts in your life, right? The shallower those dips are going to end up being, and the more time you're going to spend enjoying your life, being happy, and everything like that. So that really is the end all be all goal. I think that's going to be way different for how everybody does. I don't know if that's the answer you were expecting or if that's the direction you wanted to go towards, That
wasn't.
We can get more specific if you'd like to, but overall in life, I want to be as happy as I can possibly be. You know, it's a finite life, right? We all are going to leave at some point, and you know, we have the choice of kind of how we get to live our life and how we get to enjoy it and affect other people and everything like that. And you know, I want to enjoy it as much as possible with the people that are around me.
For sure. Well, that's all I have for you today, Brandon.
Dude,
this has been a fun time getting to know you a
yeah,
little bit
man.
better.
I think we dove into some areas where, you know, you guys got to learn a lot about me and everything like that. If you guys ever want to chat sometime, please reach out to me. Dude, thanks for putting this together. I literally didn't look at any questions. So
really?
No, we were flying blind the whole
man.
time. No, I really wanted to be able to just say
nice.
The first thing that kind of comes off the top of my head, man. So from the bottom
cool.
of my heart, man, I mean, you've been instrumental in my life past, 18 months or so, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe, like the video, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Closing thoughts?
Man, life's a gift. Life's a gift. Be grateful. It really is a good ride. It's awesome.
For sure.
Cool.
Thanks so much, Brandon. Talk to you guys soon.
All right, guys. See you later.